Welcome to That's Based. Happy Saturday. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're laughing our way through the end of days. Brought to you by Outlaw Streamers Live 365 on Chris Baker Radio. And my show tonight, if you're in the Omaha metro area, or if you're not, drive. I don't give a shit. We've got a show at Beach House Bar and Grill just north of 103rd and 4th Street, right over by the two gas stations, but don't go too far to where you get to the police department. You know where it's at. You'll find it. It's got a big old sign on the left side of the road that says Beach House. Just north of 103rd and 4th Street, we have got the Verbal Assault Comedy Roast Battles. I've got 10 of the area's top comedians that will still put up with me duking it out. And it's a good time. They're going to insult each other, and feelings are going to get hurt, and stuff's going to get thrown. Punches are going to get thrown. All kinds of crap. Nah, probably not. Although we have had a race riot at one of them. It wasn't because of what between two comedians. It was more some stuff going on in the crowd. The comics were a black guy and a white guy, and they were chill about it. But nonetheless, that's tonight, the 11th, 9 p.m., Beach House Bar and Grill. Tickets are $10 cash at the door, or if you go to the Comedy and Chaos Productions Facebook page, you can get them on e-tix and claim them in advance as well. Pre-sales crushing it. To quote Hardy, wall to wall, and it still ain't sold out. So you might want to get your tickets now. Go get them in advance. I am donating all of my money from it to a kid that my brother coaches. It's not in Omaha. My brother coaches down in Kansas, who lost his home and everything in it, his family did, to a fire. So I'm going to be donating my money to help them pay some type of bills. We'll be doing a fundraiser for them there. That's the whole 9 yards, right? And long story short, I don't need the $200, $300 or whatever I'm going to make after all our overhead is paid. So I really don't care. I just give it away. It's the Christian thing to do. That's tonight, 9 p.m., Beach House Bar and Grill. We only do this a couple times a year, and there's a reason for it, because it always does so well. We don't want to flood the market. There have been a lot of idiots that have tried to reproduce this show, and they'll do it like monthly, and it just doesn't work because it's a novelty. It can't be your only thing. You've got to do it. I shouldn't call them idiots. Some of them are people I respect, but the idea was idiotic, and I could have told them that, but they didn't listen to me. The people I stole it from would have been the ones that told you that, or would have been the ones that tell you not to do it monthly because it doesn't work. It works when it's a novelty and people go, oh, the roast battles are back. Should we go to it? I can't tell you how much repeat business we get. It's a great time. So come join us out there. Beach House Bar and Grill, $10 cash at the door. Doors at 8:30, show at 9. Okay. Well, we got a lot to talk about. Mia's not with us today. She is a little under the weather. She should hopefully be back Wednesday. She's fine. It's all good. Just was not really in a physical health-wise place to do it. She's over in the other room, just chilling, listening to me scream instead. But she'll be back next week. So I'm flying solo today. And honestly, I don't think I have enough time to share the room with somebody else today because it's going to be a long show, so buckle up. We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. The world's going up in smoke, and it's also somewhat calming down a little bit. But we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about this week. So first off, before we get into anything, let's talk about this Brinker Harding, Brett Lindstrom thing. Can I open it with a little bit of local commentary before we get into the nitty-gritty? So Brinker Harding and Brett Lindstrom are the two Republicans running to replace Don Bacon, who's the sitting Republican in NE2. Now, NE2 is one of the most competitive congressional districts in the country, year in and year out. Don Bacon's a Republican. He's had it since, I believe, 2016? 16, I want to say. He's been there for a hot minute is the point I'm making. We're not fans of his, to put it bluntly. We're not fans of his. I have heard he's not a fan of ours, which is fine. That's okay. We can all coexist that way. But Brinker Harding and Brett Lindstrom are running to replace him on the Republican side. And then there's a whole gaggle of Democrat dipshits that are running to do it too and whatever. But Harding's a former city councilor. Harding's a city councilman. Lindstrom is a former state senator who also ran for governor. As we all know, full disclosure, I've publicly endorsed Brett Lindstrom. I've been at his campaign events. I'm voting for him. That's all said and done. Now, here's the thing. Brett Lindstrom, his campaign released a press release earlier in the week that said, hey, we just broke a record. Over $425,000 raised in the last month. It is an NE2 record for either party, for a candidate from either party in this district. No one's even come close to this before. And everyone's like, oh my God, Lindstrom's got the momentum. And then you got to hand it to him for political savvy. 2 hours later, Brinker Harding's team releases a press release that says, hey, we broke a record too. In fact, we broke your record. We raised over $500,000. And everyone immediately pivoted. Oh my God, look at all the momentum that the Harding campaign has. They're crushing it. They're gonna dog walk him. That's, well, unfortunately for the Harding campaign, the truth is in the details. You got to look a little bit deeper than just the surface level when we want to talk about who has momentum here. Now, these two posts taught me two things. Number one, this is going to get expensive. This is going to be one of the most expensive congressional races in the United States in 2026, which is good for the city of Omaha. It really is, because you've got two legitimate Republican contenders. I don't count the no-tipping guy as a legitimate Republican. I'm sorry. I find it funny, but I don't think he's legitimate. And then you've got like 3 or 4 Democrats, maybe even 5, that have a real shot at winning over there. So that's going to be a lot of people raising money, which is going to be thrown into the Omaha economy. And that's going to be thrown into the form of jobs, of stimulation at local restaurants and caterers when they hold these events, of advertising, all types of stuff, all kinds of money, millions and millions of dollars are going to be thrown into the Omaha metro area. It'd be my prediction by the time this race is all said and done. Now, that's not including Bacon's not running, so I imagine the booze bills got a little bit high back when he was having, his victory parties, his election night victory parties. But that's just what I've heard. I can't confirm or deny. I can't confirm that. But what you got to do is you got to look at where this money's actually coming from. So the Lindstrom campaign, the details are important here. The Lindstrom campaign came out and said, hey, 95% of our money was raised in the state of Nebraska. Now, they haven't released all the receipts yet, but the Harding campaign didn't tell you where their money came from, which, if I'm wrong, I'll be more than happy to come on the air and eat crow. But the fact that Lindstrom, his campaign chose to emphasize how much of their money came from inside the state, and Harding's response appeared to be reactive to Lindstrom's, and he didn't mention how much of that money came from inside the state, tells me that somebody might be cozying up to DC elites, which, if you look at Harding's career as a city councilman, that's his whole shtick. That's his whole shtick, is licking the boot of the elites. I mean, this is the guy. When we just did a rant last week about the streetcar and about how they lied to you about how much it was going to cost, and they lied to you about how long it was going to take, and they lied to you about how they were going to pay for it, and they lied to these local businesses about how great it was going to be for them, and we told you all that was going to happen, and nobody listened to us, whatever. Brinker Harding, the moment he found out that Gene Stothert wanted this streetcar, because he can never kiss enough ass, this guy put on a skirt and pom-poms and cheerled for the streetcar the whole way there. The whole time. You wouldn't find a bigger defender of the streetcar than Brinker Harding, not named Gene Stothert. Brinker Harding defended the streetcar from any and all scrutiny like one of those moms or grandmas that goes on the news after their kid robs a liquor store and goes, they got the wrong person. My kid would never do that. That was Brinker Harding's defense of the streetcar. It was disgusting. This is a guy, Brinker Harding, who time and time again, when the chips were down on the table, sold you down the river on COVID restrictions and mask mandates and half capacity rules. And then the second it was no longer politically popular for them to institute those rules, Brinker Harding was the last to jump on the dog pile against him, right when it was safe. Like, I used to play high school football with this kid who they'd send in when the game was out of reach, and he'd dive on the pile at the end of the play and count it as a tackle. He'd come off the field. You'd go, I'll make a name up. Joe How many tackles did you get on that drive? 5, and he was in for 3 plays. He'd dive on the dog pile after it was over. Lucky he didn't get a penalty, if you want me to be honest. That's Brinker Harding. This is a guy who does not go against the grain until it is convenient to do so, until he knows that it's safe to do so. Brett Lindstrom, on the other hand, that guy's entire career has been going against the grain. He pissed Republicans off a number of times, standing on issues, and there's a number of times he's come out and said, you know what, I shouldn't have done this or that, but at least he admits he's wrong. Brinker Harding, on the other, and that's what I said about Trump. I said I wasn't crazy about everything Trump did in his first term, but he's admitted that he got a lot of it wrong. And that's why I voted for him this time around. Brinker Harding has not done that. Brett Lindstrom has. Brinker Harding has ran from his past. He will not talk about the streetcar. He wants you to think the COVID nonsense didn't happen. Brinker Harding will be nothing more than a spineless politician. If you want someone who's going to continue to aggravate you and make you pull your hair out throughout their entirety of their career in Congress, vote Brinker Harding. If you want to vote for somebody who's going to give us a chance, vote for Brett Lindstrom. That's all I have to say. I'm telling you right now, if you don't think this primary is important, this is a very winnable race. The Democrats don't have anyone good. This is a very winnable race. If you think this primary isn't important and you're just going to vote for whoever the Republican is, just remember how difficult it's going to be to get rid of him. We saw with Bacon, we saw with Lee Terry, how difficult it is to get rid of rhinos in the 2nd District. Let's not make that mistake again. If this guy wins, we're going to be stuck with him until we get a Democrat. Yes, I will vote for him if he wins the primary. I'm not voting for meth mouth John Kavanaugh, my God. But get out and vote for Brett Lindstrom if you want to have a congressman that's not only electable, but that you can actually trust not to sell you out. Let's talk about the news. Let's go to the first one here. The government shutdown is still looming on. They're fighting it out. And the IRS has furloughed half of its staff. I love it. People are like, hey, is this what you voted for? The IRS furloughing half of its staff? Yeah, actually it is. It is. They do this every time like we've never been through a shutdown before. Every time we do this, there's some new doom and gloom. Oh, the shutdown's coming. They act like it's like a pandemic or a war or something. Every time the shutdown happens, or there's a threat of a shutdown happening, the media tries to put the fear of God into you, and every time the shutdown happens, people go on with their lives as if nothing's changed. How many of you have been negatively affected by the shutdown? None of you? Unless you've got a job with the federal government, in which case you'll get back pay. Yes, this is what I voted for. In fact, the stock market, I just checked my portfolio yesterday, has hit new records once again, despite the shutdown. Everything seems fine to me. Here's who's going to lose for this. And Trump right now is in a position of authority. Because the longer the shutdown goes on, the more people are going to look into it. And the more people look into it, the more the Democrats are going to get exposed. The worse they're going to look. They don't want that. Trump holds all the negotiation power right now. So what people are going to do is they're going to look at, okay, we keep hearing about this shutdown. Why is the government shut down? Let's go. What's the big issue that's holding Congress up right now? Let's go look at it. And then they see, oh, the Democrats want to give Medicare and Medicaid to illegal aliens, and Republicans are saying that's our line in the sand. Well, as we learn, that's like a 60-40, 70-30 issue. While people may not like seeing ICE raids on, ablalas and gardeners, they're not really fans of illegal immigrants getting taxpayer-funded money. So they're going to go, wait a second, you guys are doing this? This is you? So the longer this holds out, the longer the Democrats hold out and don't make a deal, the more negotiating power Trump's going to have and the more of what he wants he can actually get from these people. It really is. He has no motivation, Trump doesn't, to make a deal with the Democrats right now because they are dying on an incredibly unpopular hill. And the longer they choose to drag their feet on this, the more power Trump's going to get. The more they're going to get exposed to the voting public that they're full of shit. And they haven't learned, and they're continuing to double and even, if not triple down on the issues that killed them in 2024. By the way, I am not drinking beer at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. We're pre-taping this Thursday evening. I'm not an alcoholic. Relax. Next up, so we covered the outrage, which is the Nigerian Christian massacre, a week ago on the show. If you haven't listened to it yet, go back and do it after you're done with this one. But basically what happened, and this has been going on for a while, you've got this group in Nigeria called Boko Haram that is going around, and has been for quite some time, slaughtering Christians in Nigeria. And if you ever meet Nigerian Christians, specifically Nigerian Catholics, those people are some of the most steadfast in their faith that you will ever see. We talk about Christians in America because they've seen the alternative, right? Those people have no question. We talk about Christians in America dealing with bullshit, and we absolutely do. But it's nothing compared to what the Nigerians deal with. If you ever meet, and I know a couple of them, Nigerian Christians or Nigerian Catholics specifically, those are some of the strongest-willed people you'll ever meet. And if you look at them when they come over here, they make, on average, 15% more than the average white American. Those are people that come over here and bust their asses. When we talk about controlled immigration, those are the types of people that, for the most part, that we want coming to this country because they match with our cultural values. Of course, there's going to be some different things, but for the most part, we align on the big question, and then they come over here and they're productive members of society who otherwise assimilate while staying strong to their home culture. That's the type of immigration we want in this country. So this group, Boko Haram, went over and they beheaded 60 of them in a church in Nigeria and burned the church to the ground. Now, they used machetes, and if you know anything about machetes, the head don't come clean off with that. That is a brutal, gruesome way to do it. They did it to men, women, and children. We went over it. You've had more Nigerian Christians have been killed than everyone combined in Gaza. It is an actual genocide that nobody wants to talk about. Well, nobody except Eric Prince, the CEO of Blackwater. Now, if you remember Blackwater, yes, that Blackwater, not BlackRock, not Blackstone. We're not talking about the investment capital firms. We're talking about the private military that went over to Iraq and Afghanistan and maybe did some not so nice things to the folks on the other side of that war. And when they got caught doing it, the U.S. government got to wash their hands of it and go, oh, those are private military contractors. We don't have any say in this. Well, Eric Prince, the founder of Blackwater, reached out to Pope Leo and he said, hey, give us the money to go do this for the supplies and the weapons and the transportation, and we will start another crusade for you. Say the word, we're ready to go. Send us down there, and we will do armed protection of Christian and Catholic churches in Nigeria. Now, the Pope hasn't responded yet because he was too busy at a climate conference, which, to be fair, nuance is important, was not his fault. The previous Pope had signed up for that. He was honoring a previously made commitment. That's not, I know everyone, there's people that just like to, for whatever reason, there's people, Protestants specifically, that just like whoever the Pope is, they like to dunk on him. They treat the Pope like he's Satan or something like that, and he's not. I don't agree. I think this guy's a lot better than the last one. I still don't agree with everything he says, but I think at the end of the day, a moderate Pope was probably the right choice. Now, if we would have gotten Cardinal Robert Serra like I wanted, you bet your ass the crusade already would have started. But something does have to be done. Something absolutely has to. If we're going to go and shill out all this money for Israel, if we're going to go and shill out all this money for Ukraine, but we're going to let people who have an objectively closer worldview to us than both of those countries just sit there and get killed because they don't help our bottom line financially or militarily, that is a shame, and God will look upon us unfondly. We're going to have to answer for that someday as a nation once Judgment Day arrives. I don't like that. That makes me a tad bit uncomfortable. So I think that, yes, if there's ever been a piece of maybe not military intervention, but hey, maybe we can send guns and supplies or something to this group of people. I think what's going on in Nigeria would be the optimal way to do it. I would much prefer my money gets spent on that and some of the other garbage foreign excursions we're doing. Okay. We got a lot to talk about. I have like 20 topics on here, and I intend on getting through all of them. Now it's time for the big one. As if, the next Crusade wasn't big news. It's time for the big one, though. Trump has officially brokered a deal between Israel and Hamas. Campaign promises made, campaign promises kept. He posted on Truth Social earlier in the week. I'm very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed on the first phase of our peace plan. That means that all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops and to an agreed upon line as the first steps toward a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, and the United States of America. And we thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey who worked with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. Blessed are the peacemakers. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. He did not sign off with thank you for your attention to this matter. So they also, there's going to be hostages released on both sides, by the way. Not just the Israeli hostages that are still left are going to be released. And there will be several Palestinian hostages released as well. I hope they're not terrorists. We'll just put it that way. The best part besides the fact that dying's going to stop, the second best part about this is there's no way to spin this as a negative. There's no way. If you try to spin this as a negative, as if Trump did something wrong here, you come off as a heartless sociopath. There's no way to flip this. Even the the best they've got here. Well, we'll see if they uphold the ceasefire. That's the best they've got. There's no way to make Trump look bad here. He just stopped a conflict that's been going on since before Christ. There's no way to... Remember when I told you he needed a win? This is the win he got. This is what he needed. And typically when you get your first big win, whether it's in politics, in business, whatever, school, whatever, you get a little bit of sports, you get a little bit of momentum behind you, and the dominoes kind of start to fall. You ever see a team that's kind of not that great to start the season off, and then they go upset somebody they shouldn't have beat, and just all of it seems to kind of click at the same time, and they go out and they win 3 or 4 games in a row? That's kind of what I'm predicting is going to happen with Trump here. I bet we get some movement on the Ukraine thing and a couple of other deals coming up here pretty soon. But this is a major win. It's going to be pretty hard for the Democrats or anyone on the left, for that matter, to come out and go, well, no, we want the war to continue. We want more people to die. We want to see another school get decimated. Yet they still are. Some of them still are. You've got people, and they won't be as loud about it, the pronouns for Palestine mob. But the pronouns for Palestine mob, the Watermelon Brigade, whatever you want to call them, a lot of those folks, something tells me, because they've all gone radio silent. It went from don't stop talking about Gaza, don't stop talking about Gaza, don't stop talking about Gaza, to they all stopped talking about Gaza at the same time. I've seen no celebrations you've seen a lot of celebrations from the people in Gaza because they want this shit to stop. You've seen no celebration from pronouns for Palestine. They've just gone quiet. They don't know what to do. They've shifted their attention to Portland or whatever else. They won't talk about it. It's almost like they never actually expected anything to get done. That they were chanting from the river to the sea as if it was this thing that they claim they wanted, but they like when libertarians say like, oh, we're going to abolish the income tax. You know that's never going to happen. Be nice, but you know it's never going to happen. It was the same thing with the Free Palestine ceasefire now bullshit. I think a lot of them didn't think it was ever going to happen. And then it happens, but the guy who brokered the deal, they've spent the last how many years calling Hitler. Because that's what Hitler does, right? As we all know, Hitler was very famous for being very much concerned about the safety and well-being of the Jewish community and Arabs. Hitler really cared about Jews and brown people and wanting to see both sides stop getting killed. That's Hitler. I mean, we all know that. So they don't have a way to spin this. And instead of celebrating and giving Trump credit where it's due, because they can't do that, they've just gone quiet. They'll either say, I'll believe it when I see it, which is a fair take. But for the most part, 75% of them have shut up entirely. And there's a reason for that. They don't want peace. What you have to realize about these people, remember what I tell you, I always tell you, we have to stop viewing the world from only our perspective. Right? People have different ways they look at things, and these people are some of them. This cause, for the most part, the people you see going out to these rallies and posting incessantly on Facebook, they don't have a whole lot going on for them. This is it. This is their thing where they get to feel like they're part of something greater. They don't go to church. They have dead-end jobs. They're not married. They don't have kids. They don't have any real hobbies other than showing up to these protests. They don't want peace in the Middle East. I really think a lot of them don't even see the human. They don't see the people in Israel and Palestine as actual human beings. They see them the same way you look at people on a TV show. Oh, he died. That's sad. But he died for your entertainment on the TV show. In this case, they died to give them some type of purpose. So they can point to this and go, oh, look at the horrors. But they really, it's not, there's something just missing in that connection between the Pronouns for Palestine mob and the people in Gaza that were getting killed. They don't want peace. They want an excuse for chaos. I told you when this thing started, these riots you're seeing, people shutting down entire highways, it's not about Gaza. It is about an excuse to behave lawlessly. Pronouns for Palestine is radio silent right now on this peace deal for the same reason that BLM could never actually articulate what type of police reform they wanted. You remember that 2020? Oh, we want police reform. We want criminal justice reform now. We got to fix the justice system. And you go, okay, what do you want to do? And nobody could give you an answer. Nobody could give you a straight answer other than outright abolishing the police. Because BLM was never about actual criminal justice reform. BLM was about making the people at the top money like a pyramid scheme and giving the people on the bottom an excuse to behave lawlessly because they did not have healthy outlets in their lives. It's the same thing here. The Pronouns for Palestine group did not give a rat's ass about Palestine. They did not want peace. They wanted an excuse to go out and do something. They wanted to feel like they were a part of something greater than themselves, which is really sad on its own if you think about it. They don't want peace for the same reason Tom never kills Jerry. Because if Tom kills Jerry, the show's over. Now, here's what I saw that pissed me off about this. As more details started to come out, we see Hamas told Trump that the hostages would be released, and I quote, Monday or Tuesday. The hell does that mean? What the hell? I mean, these hostages, these Israeli hostages, these are human beings that have been tortured now for over 2 years. And we're just, sure, we'll get them in a couple of 2-3 business days. You know, we got to get the shipping ready. We act like it's an Amazon package that's delayed. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If I'm Donald Trump, I say, okay, how about this? We get him Saturday, or the deal's off, and I'm telling Netanyahu to go finish the job. I'm letting the dog off the leash. You're sitting in front of my house, talking shit, making a nuisance out of yourself, yelling at me, calling me names, throwing eggs in my fucking garage door. The dog's getting let off the leash if you're not off my property in 30 seconds. The dog wants to rip your face off. You can see him. He's right here. I got him. He's snarling. He's foaming at the mouth. He's ready to rip you limb from limb. But I'm the only thing holding that dog back from you, protecting you from your demise. You can get off my property in 30 seconds, or I'm letting the dog go. I am so sick and tired of playing games with this part of the world. I'm so sick and tired of our involvement, period, there. If this does not work out, if this doesn't work out, if either side of this issue fucks around and bombs somebody or whatever, I don't care if it's Israel or Palestine, you pull all your money and all your involvement out of both of them. We're done. We're done wasting this time and energy. We have our own problems here. You guys fight it out and go figure it out for yourselves. We don't care anymore. Israel, you want to start shit? We're done. The money's gone. We're not helping you. Palestine, you want to break the ceasefire? Hamas, I'm going to tell Netanyahu to go do whatever he's got to do and stop when he feels like it's necessary. When he feels like the job is done, then he can stop. I mean, to be honest, we've got one country that plays spy games and manipulates our politicians and disobeys direct orders when we're funding them and does shit behind our back when we specifically told them not to do it. That's Israel. And then the other side, you've got an entire religion in part of the world that's basically carrying out a soft crusade through mass migration into not just America, but the West as a whole. Just slowly taking over and demanding we bend to their will. Fucking let them fight it out. If this doesn't work, let them go deal. Who gives a fuck, man? Let them figure it out. It's not our problem anymore. I'm just so tired of the games. I'll give you the hostages back in 5 business days. Now! Now, give the hostages back, or there will be no buildings left for you to hold people hostage in. How about that? Because, and if you look at the videos of the people in Gaza that are celebrating in the streets, they're all chanting Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, which again, just show there's so many disconnects, but it shows the disconnect of the pronouns for Palestine mob and the actual people in Gaza that pronouns for Palestine claims to be representing and speaking on behalf of. The pronouns for Palestine hate Trump. The people in Gaza love Trump because he's the only one who wants to get anything solved here. He's the only one on any side of this that wants the war to stop. And they also know Trump is basically the only thing keeping Netanyahu from leveling that entire country overnight. So, I mean, there's so many things that pronouns for Palestine and the people in Gaza don't have in common, far more than they do have in common. The love for Donald Trump from the people of Gaza is not one of the things that they have in common. So it'll be interesting to see where this all goes, if either side can hold up their end of the deal. I'm just so sick and tired of the bullshit. I'm so sick and tired. Listen, man, at some point it becomes like a sunk cost situation in that part of the world. You know, you buy a car and you think you got this great deal on this car, and then one thing goes out on it, and you're paying a bunch of money to have that fixed, and then it's just one thing after another. You got the transmission goes out, the radiator fan, the brakes. I mean, just all this shit just starts going wrong with this car. And at some point, you've spent more money fixing the car 4 or 5 times over than you actually did on the car itself. We've all had a car like that. At some point, dude, you either got to sell that car or scrap it and move on to the next one, because it ain't worth what you're putting into it. Even if you put a whole bunch of shit into it and get it all fixed, it's still going to cost you more to fix that car than it's actually worth. So right now, the Middle East is just is a car that we got for $2,000 off Craigslist. Yes, I know I'm showing my age right there. And we've spent $12,000 in labor on, in maintenance, in repairs. Sell the car. All right, look, you got this transmission replacement that you think is going to fix everything, and it's the root of all your problems. Great. If it's not, sell the car or take it to the junkyard. Quit messing around with it. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your energy. You're wasting your money. You're wasting your resources. You got to know when to you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. Right now, we're at the walk away point. Soon it's going to be the run, you know? The gambler. It's crazy. Poker is literally, it's like a mirror to life. It's not even a metaphor. I've learned more about life from playing poker than I have doing anything else. It literally can be applied. The skills you learn playing poker can be applied to anything else in life, literally, to a T, verbatim. There are situations where you get cards that look good and you think you really got something to play with, and then the flop comes down and it's like, fuck, I got nothing. And the guy to the left of me is raising. I've already bet money into this and I've got a little bit invested, but I'm just going to fold, because what's going to happen here is I'm going to be chasing that extra ace because I opened up with pocket aces, but now there's potentially 3 or 4 of a kind in there. And I'm just going to get bet out of a bunch of money. I can either cut my losses here or lose a bunch of money gambling on a 1 in 52 chance. You learn so much from playing poker, and you can apply it to foreign policy. Okay, next topic. Letitia James is getting charged with more alleged mortgage fraud. The New York Attorney General, who is infamous, if you will, for charging Donald Trump with all of those bogus felonies that we saw a couple of years ago out in New York. She's been charged that the prosecutors allege that she misrepresented key details on loan applications to secure lower interest rates and better terms, saving her approximately $18,933 in interest on her property in Virginia alone. I would like to know, I don't think attorney generals get paid that. I mean, they make a good living, but it's not that much. How many properties does this woman have, and where is her money coming from? I would be interested in finding that out. Here's what she had to say on that, though.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General. These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost. The president's actions are a grave violation of our constitutional order and have drawn sharp criticism from members of both parties. His decision to fire a United States attorney who refused to bring charges against me and replace them with someone who is blindly loyal not to the law.
Oh, that must suck. Oh, man. Who could have ever imagined a president doing something like this?
But to the president is antithetical to the bedrock principles of our country.
You mean like taking people off the ballot and charging them with a bunch of BS trumped up charges?
This is the time for leaders on both sides of the aisle to speak out against this blatant perversion of our system of justice.
Nope, it's not. It's not. Sorry. The time for leaders on both sides of the aisle to speak out against the blatant perversion of justice was when Joe Biden was doing it to his political opponents 4 years ago. was when I came on the air and told you when you set precedents, you have to be ready for those precedents to be used against you. When I told you President Ron DeSantis is going to prosecute the entire Biden family. Now, I got the president wrong, but I had the idea right. And everybody involved in this case, I got the idea of what was going to happen right, though. That's what happened. I told you this was going to happen. You can go back and check the tapes, ladies and gentlemen. I told you the next Republican administration is going to come in and make what the Biden administration did to Trump and his associates look like a fucking birthday party. Payback's a bitch, ain't it? That's what I said because, a former local talk radio host posted on his personal Facebook Wednesday about, and I won't tell you his name, but it rhymes with Shmom Shmeka, posted on his personal Facebook account. Let me see if I can go read it real quick. He had a take on this. Again, I'm not going to tell you who this guy was, but I'll read it to you in his voice. Okay, I'm not going to tell you who it was, but I'll read it in his voice. The Justice Department just indicted Letitia James. Tell me again how it's the Democrats that weaponized the Justice Department. No idea who that was. Shmom Shmeka. I left a very simple comment. I simply said, payback's a bitch, ain't it? Because it really is. Because none of this would have happened. None of this would have happened had you guys just not persecuted your political opponents. Had you left Trump and his family alone, yeah, they might have run. They might not have won, though, because that mugshot really changed the game up. I mean, it backfired in so many different ways. But had you guys just not targeted your political opponents, had you just not bastardized the DOJ to go after him and try to keep him out of the White House again, none of this is happening. Donald Trump wouldn't have known who Letitia James was. But you had to do it. So I told you so. You want to know how I know they started this? You want to know how I know they started this prosecuting your political opponents bullshit? Because in 2016, Donald Trump ran his entire campaign. It was a slogan. He had people chanting it at rallies. He was chanting along with them about Hillary Clinton. Lock her up. Lock her up. And he got to office and he spared her. He showed mercy on Hillary Clinton. He said, you know what? Because Trump actually understands the long game and how it works. I don't agree with Trump on everything, but Trump, like myself, is able to think more than 2 steps ahead of him. Trump can go, yeah, I can prosecute Hillary Clinton, and my base would eat that up. And, it would be a fodder for the news, and I'd be all over talking about it. And, it might feel real good to do it. But I'm going to leave office. And everybody gets their hands a little dirty when they're in office. And if I decide to start weaponizing the DOJ against my political opponents, they're probably going to do it to me. The Biden administration, like every other run-of-the-mill politician, because they have no real-life experience. That's what you got to realize. You wonder why these people are so stupid, and they can't see the next domino that's going to fall a couple down the line. The reason they don't, because they have no real-life experience. These are people that have lived sheltered, privileged lives. They've never had to work for shit. They've been in politics and government throughout their entire lives. They don't understand that actions have consequences that you may not be able to immediately see. And that's why the Biden administration didn't see a couple steps down the road that, hey, there's a chance this guy could take office again and do the same thing to us that we did to him. None of them get it. They're a bunch of privileged academics who have never as much as gotten their hands dirty in their lives. They've never had to work for anything, so they don't understand that actions have consequences. And like I said, consequences you may not be able to see until a couple years later. This is a consequence. So they're alleging she committed mortgage fraud. And here's what CNN had to say about this. I love this. I love how they play cover for her.
Aside for a second, what Tish James, and again, we're still getting the details, but if it's related to this mortgage issue, I mean, this is something that everyone in America, or many people at least, if you're lucky enough to be able to buy a house in America, you deal with
Thanks,
this,
Biden.
right? The federal government doesn't go after all of these people for doing this. Does that?
Well, there you go. Everybody, you heard it from CNN. Everybody in America commits mortgage fraud. I'm going to create a poll on the That Space with Caleb Salvatore Facebook group, but I want you to answer my question in the comments on YouTube and Rumble below. Those of you that own homes, did you commit mortgage fraud to get that home? According to CNN, which as we know is super reliable, everybody does it. Everybody commits mortgage fraud. Have these people never bought a home? I had these idiots. I shouldn't even tell this story. These people do everything when you buy a home, especially nowadays, short of giving you a colonoscopy to verify where your money is coming from. And maybe that's because I have all these investments and stuff that all like 1099s and stuff like that coming in that are hard to track. So maybe it was a little bit different for me. All I'm saying is it would have been very, very difficult for me to lie about where my money was coming from without falsifying some type of invoice or document. I don't know what she did. This is all alleged, what she allegedly did. This is all alleged. She hasn't been convicted. She's innocent until proven guilty, of course. But the idea that everyone just lies a little bit on their mortgage, anyone who's telling you that has not bought a house in the last 20 years. Because you really can't. You really can't unless you take a document and make it say something that it did not say. By the way, I looked it up because she has a house in Virginia and New York. The annual salary of the Attorney General of New York is $250,000 a year, which is a good living, but houses in New York, specifically, she has to live within city limits. I mean, you're looking at upwards of $1 million. The average price of a home in Virginia is around $500,000. How does she afford two houses on that salary? That's a good living, don't get me wrong. How does she afford two houses on that salary, though? That's what we're missing here. Who's funding that beach home in Virginia? Because you might be able, on like $250,000, say like a lawyer making $250,000 a year. You know, you might be able to, you know, with your partners, all chip in and get like a condo or something that you guys can go to and party at and, you know, take your families up there or whatever. But two homes, a beach home on $250,000 a year in one of the most, if not the most expensive market in the country? I'm less interested in the alleged mortgage fraud and more interested in where her money's coming from. Here's what she tweeted, though. Let Letitia James tell you. She tweeted this a couple years ago. And I quote, "When powerful people cheat to get better loans, it comes at the expense of hardworking people. Everyday Americans cannot lie to a bank to get a mortgage, and if they did, our government would throw the book at them. There simply cannot be different rules for different people." I love social media. I love social media because every time somebody gets caught up in some bullshit and they try to play it off as it wasn't a big deal, we have in writing, next to their stupid face and their stupid name, them saying the opposite. You can't run from your words when they've been made permanent, etched in the stone that is the internet, ladies and gentlemen. If you take nothing else from this segment, let it be that payback is a bitch. And I do want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Blood of Tyrants Wines. Drink bloodoftyrants.com with the promo code BASED. BASED, like the title of the show. you will save 10% off your order at the checkout. Again, that's drinkbloodofTyrants.com. With the promo code BASED, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. They got 2 types of wine, both red and white, along with the Liquid Freedom energy drink. drinkbloodofTyrants.com with the promo code BASED. The Liquid Freedom energy drink, by the way, comes with 0 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and 0 fucks given, made from all natural ingredients. We can't tell you it's all natural, but it was all natural ingredients because they did use a juicer. And last time I checked, they don't make those in nature. The juicers don't grow out of the ground. You got to go to the store to buy one. Other than that, all natural ingredients. And if you all the upsides of energy drinks with none of that nasty downside, I drank them for, was drinking one every day at one point, and I didn't get the heart palpitations that energy drinks gave me. It's drinkbloodofTyrants.com with the promo code BASED. You'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. By the way, we have also got tonight, Beach House Bar and Grill, 9 p.m., doors at 8:30, tickets $10 cash at the door or on eTix. The Verbal Assault Comedy Roast Battle, 10 of the area's top comics, plus special guest performances from myself, Billy Two Guns, and maybe somebody else who some folks that listen to this show know. Tonight at Beach House, 9 p.m., be there or be square. The Husker game's at 2:30. You have no excuse. No excuse. Do it, or I will show up to your home and kill myself in front of you. I'm dead serious. Come to the show, 9 p.m., Beach House, just north of 103rd and 4th Street in Omaha, Nebraska. All right. Next one. We're almost at the top of the hour here. Jay Jones is the Democrat nominee for, speaking of attorney generals, you like how that segued in there? For attorney general in the great state of Virginia. Maybe he'll be prosecuting Letitia James, potentially. Jay Jones is in the middle of a little bit of a scandal here, ladies and gentlemen. He had some text messages he sent to a colleague in the legislature back in 2022 go viral. And here's what the text messages say. Now, Jones is in the gray, and his colleague is in the blue. The colleague says, they say nice, this is about at one point in time, the Republican state speaker of the House. Says, they say nice things about everyone, LOL. This was the colleague. And then Jones replies, if those guys die before me, I will go to their funerals and piss on their graves, send them out awash in something. Person replies, Jay Jones. Jay replies, 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, who was the state legislature head at the time, 2 people, 3 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. Jay, please stop. LOL. Okay. The person replies, it really bothers me when you talk about hurting people or wishing death on them. You weren't simply asking questions and you know it. Jay goes, I genuinely was. I wasn't attacking you. I was trying to understand your logic. You weren't trying to understand, Jay. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. Yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. It goes on. Jay says, talking about Joe Johnson, a Democrat but basically a Republican, leaked everything to your caucus. It's why Gilbert gave him such a glowing tribute. I know what you were talking about. Jay goes, served with my dad who had nice words with a little choice sprinkled in. Guy says, I didn't look at that. I just saw the guy died and assumed you had words. Jay says he was a Democrat. The other person says, this is a different message here on the right, says, I point blank asked you more than 3 times. You dug in that you meant it. I'm honest and questioning a lot today. He said, I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer Gilbert are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes, that was his excuse for hoping that Todd and Jennifer Gilbert's children were murdered. Isn't that nice? That was 2022. All this hate you saw from the Charlie Kirk shooting where these people were celebrating his death because he was a fascist or whatever, that's not new. They've always felt this way. They've just finally either got the balls or just don't have anything left to lose to say it. That's all that's changed. That's literally it. They finally just got the balls to say it, or they just don't care anymore. These people have always been evil demons. Like I always say, they don't call you a fascist because you're a fascist. They call you a fascist to justify killing you. That's what it comes down to. Not every Democrat, not every liberal, of course, we know that. But there are enough of them, probably 20 to 30%, maybe more, of the Democrat Party that literally thinks murder over political differences is justifiable. This guy's running for AG. We're not talking about some bullshit position on a school board. He wants to be the top law enforcement official in the state of Virginia. And he's on the record saying he wants his political opponents and their children dead because, and I quote, only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. These psychopaths, these demons, will kill you and your children and laugh about it and say you deserved it and never feel an ounce of remorse. That is the textbook definition of a psychopath. To justify killing someone in a manner that wasn't immediate self-defense. They think you deserve it. You see what I'm talking about when I say there's no more reasoning with these people? There's no more reason to talk to these people. You have nothing to gain from having a political debate with someone who wants you dead for your views. You're going to bring words to the conversation. They're going to bring a gun. That's spoiler alert. That's how this ends. There is no reason to talk to the left anymore. We wield the power. We make them hurt. That's what we do. Politically hurt. We make them politically hurt. We make them financially hurt. We make them hurt in their relationships. We ostracize them from society to the point no one wants to hire them. No one will let them wield any political or social power. No one even wants to be friends or cousins with them anymore. We have to ruin them. That's the only way you defeat these people. Pray for their souls that they'll have a come to Jesus moment, but be prepared to do what needs to be done, which is professionally and personally ruining these people's lives. It is about survival at this point. They will kill you. They will kill your children, and they will see it as totally justified because they're breeding little fascists, as they say. And you have to be prepared while you're ruining these people nonviolently that if they do try to get violent with you and they do try to show up and hurt you over this, you have to be prepared to put them down like a stray animal. In self-defense only. Never initiate violence. I'd never encourage that. You have to be prepared to protect yourself when the left shows up and tries to get violent with you. We need them to feel totally hopeless. We need them to take a look in the mirror after. Here's what we need. We need a guy to show up and try to start shit at one of these conservative events and just get the absolute crap beat out of him. Absolute shit beat out of him by everybody there because societal correction is the appropriate way. So he shows up, tries to attack the speaker with a knife or whatever, and 6 guys pull him to the side and just beat the tar out of him. And they don't kill him, but that guy crawls home, crawls to the bus stop because he doesn't have a car, of course, because he's all about the 15-minute cities. He's going to crawl home. He's going to look in the mirror, and he's going to say to himself, no one takes me seriously politically. My side of the aisle has lost all social influence. We've totally blown the culture war. I can't get a decent paying job. No one wants to be my friend because my views are so radioactive and toxic, and I can't even lash out violently at these people. I can't even fight back. I'm too physically frail and weak and outnumbered to fight these people. I better just give up. And then he'll do whatever he's got to do. That's what we need to start happening to these people. No more playing nice with them. Professionally, politically, and financially brutalize them. Bring them to their knees and then push their head on the ground and make them lie down. Politically, not literally, not physically. The gloves are off, ladies.
Brought to you politically.
This will be interesting Because if he wins, because Virginia is more Democrat than Republican, it's a light blue state. If he wins this race, this will be a litmus test for how far gone the Democrat Party is. Because you saw people coming out and saying, I disavow political violence, blah, 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 blah. But if they're going to turn around, especially in this day and age with the Charlie Kirk thing fresh in everybody's mind, and vote for somebody who's calling for political violence, well, I mean, this is going to be something you can actually measure. How far gone are these people? How many of these people either A, want political violence against you, or B, don't see political violence against you as a deal breaker? Because anyone who votes for that guy, it's only one of those two options. That's not something where it's like, oh, I agree with him on abortion, but I'm going to vote for him on these other 19 issues because we agree. Whether or not you should die for having a different belief, your children should die for having a different belief than somebody, should be a deal breaker. Hey, does this guy want to kill people because they think differently than him? If the answer to that is yes, I don't care if they're a Republican, Democrat, whatever, you don't vote for him. I don't care who you vote for. You vote Libertarian, you vote for the other party, you leave it blank. You write in Mickey Mouse. Write me in. I don't care. You don't vote for that guy, though, if you still have a semblance of a soul. So Virginia Senator Tim Kaine recently referred to the text messages as indefensible, but said he still supports him and is going to vote for him. That was Hillary Clinton's VP choice, that Tim Kaine. That's how far gone these people are. Man, we dodged a bullet with him. Maybe literally. Maybe literally. Look, guys, the othering of people and political violence does not happen overnight. It is a slow crawl to it. To the normalization of political violence. And it starts with people saying political violence isn't really a deal breaker for me. When it creeps in and it's like, if you've got like a girlfriend, say you got a girlfriend, you've been together about 6 months, she's got a guy friend she's just a little too close to. This guy just makes you uneasy, but you ain't been dating that long or whatever. And as the relationship goes on for a couple of years, you just let it go a little bit more and more and more and more without saying anything because you don't want to be the controlling boyfriend who's trying to isolate her from her friends or whatever. And she just keeps getting a little bit closer to that guy. And every day the line moves like a couple more inches as far as what you're willing to put up with between the two of them. And then one day you come home from work after you've been married for 10 years and you got 2 kids together, and this guy's balls deep inside of her. She's going to take the house. You're going to get the kids on weekends and Christmas. You don't even get the fucking dog, bro. And you're paying this bitch alimony? That's how political violence works. It doesn't start with people just popping rounds off. It starts with mainstream politicians saying, I detest political violence, but if you check the right boxes for me, I'm still going to vote for you. I'll still endorse you. That's where it starts. It starts with people like governor candidate and Democrat nominee Abigail Spanberger in the middle of the debate saying things like this.
Thank you, Ms. Spanberger. I didn't hear an answer there on the endorsement issue, so I want to just make sure. Will you continue to endorse Jay Jones to be the next Attorney General of Virginia? And were you aware of these text messages before they released? You have 30 seconds.
In fact, it appears that it was those who released the text messages and held them for years. So the public was unaware who had knowledge of these text messages for many years.
What did you do about it?
I learned of these text messages the day that they came out, and I denounced them as soon as I learned of them.
She denounces murder.
And importantly, at this point, as we move forward, the voters now have this information that was withheld for them.
You're running to
presumably for
Ms.
political reasons. But the voters now have the information, and it is up to voters to make an individual choice based on this information.
Ms. Bamberger, I understand what you're saying about the voters, but for you yourself, do you still continue to endorse Jay Jones? 15 seconds, yes or no?
15 seconds.
We are all running our individual races. I believe my opponent has said that about her lieutenant governor nominee.
Ms. Earl Sayers,
And it's
Ms. Earl
up
Sayers.
to every person to make their own decision. I am running my race to serve Virginia, and that is what I intend to do.
Thank you, Ms. Bamberger. We just want to clarify, what you're saying is that as of now, you still endorse Jay Jones as Attorney General.
I'm saying as of now, it's up to every voter to make their own individual decision. I am running for governor. I am accountable for the words that I say, for the acts that I take, for the policies that I have put out.
Is that not the most bullshit politician non-answer you've ever heard? Yes or no? 15 seconds, then she proceeds to filibuster for another 30. Sometimes, my mom always taught me, sometimes no response is a response. And a filibuster is no response. And that tells you everything you need to know. Because these people are in a cult. They get their marching orders, and then they walk lockstep with people that check the right box, which is really just the letter next to their name. They all get spoon-fed the same exact corporate talking points. Some of them are better about pushing them than others. We'll get to that in the second hour of the show. But at the end of the day, they all say the same shit. All the Democrats do. Some of the Republicans do the same thing, but it's much more blatant on the Democratic side of the aisle. It's all the same fucking thing. It should be an easy yes or no question. If you do, stand by it and own it. I'd at least have respect for her if she went, you know what? Yeah, fuck you. Not only do I still endorse him, I agree with what he said. I would have at least respected her for that, but she couldn't even do that. Instead, she tries to push it onto her constituents and go, do what you got to do, which is code for go vote for the guy. I don't want to put my name by him because it'll kill me with independence, but go vote for the guy. Because she wants the guy in office. She wants a psychopath like that in office because that's how almost half the Democrat Party sees you. They see you as a threat that needs to be eliminated through violent means. And they would love to have an attorney general being the top law enforcement official in the state who wants you dead as well. That's what it boils down to. That's why these nutcases cannot get power back. That's why I don't care if Donald Trump uses the precedent that the Biden administration set with the DOJ and arrests all of these fucking people. Bullshit charges on all of them. That's why I don't care if Republicans go around and dox leftists and get them fired from their jobs using the same bullshit precedent they set back in 2020 during the George Floyd riots because of shit they posted on Facebook. I don't care. I hope they do it. The gloves are off. We're not willing to stoop to random acts of violence because we actually believe in a God and an afterlife and, consequences for things we did here. But we're willing to gamble with making your wallets and your reputation and your relationships all hurt a little bit. God might go, yeah, you fucked up there, but, you did this and that. I mean, it's political war mode, guys. That's where we're at. Politically. That's where we're at. I heard about somebody I knew. I got a message. I shouldn't even. We'll do it in the second hour of the show. How about that? We'll be right back. I got to go out and get another beer. All right, in the second hour of the show is brought to you by Hot Salt. Hot Salt at firecracker.farm, not .com or .org or .net. Firecracker.farm, F-A-R-M. You're going to save 10% off your order at the checkout on Hot Salt. Hot Salt's a combination of Mediterranean sea salt, scorpion pepper, Carolina Reaper, and ghost pepper. Hot Salt goes great on everything. And if you go to firecracker.farm and use the promo code BASED, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. Right now, go do it. You can do it whenever, but go do it right now just because I want the money now. Inflation and all that shit. It's never going to be worth more 5 minutes from now than it is right now. So I want the money. Firecracker.farm with the promo code BASE. You'll save 10% off your order to check out. For the love of God, disclaimer. I don't know how many of you people need to hear the word ghost pepper and not understand what that means. Ghost pepper means a little bit goes a long way. You don't need to have a whole butt to douse your fucking popcorn in hot salt. Use a little bit and use the promo code BASE at firecracker.farm to save 10% off your order to checkout. Okay. So here's what I was going to talk about before the end of the hour. So I didn't know if I wanted to talk about this, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. This was really bothering me. For the last week. So me and Justin Healy get a message from somebody we know through the comedy scene. And they said, hey, so-and-so, my boyfriend, the person messaging us, his boyfriend, got doxxed. The sponsors of our show got contacted. His employer outside of comedy got contacted with screenshots of a tweet, and we tracked it back through the dummy email that was used to somebody both of you know. And I'm like, well, first off, you guys aren't very good at doxing people. You make up new emails for that. You don't do anything that could be tracked back to you. And then I'm like, Justin goes, what were the tweets? Because the tweets have been since deleted. And we didn't get a response on that. And then I get, out of the blue, a message sent to me that was a screenshot of said tweets. And this is a guy I've done shows with, I've booked, he's booked me. Always had a positive relationship with this guy. Never rubbed me the wrong way, I've been a dude's house. Always been chill to me, right? Here's the tweets. It was the day after Kirk got killed. If you spend your life spouting pro-gun and anti-mental health rhetoric, you should die at the hands of a crazed gunman. You reap what you sow. Ain't really no dancing around that one, is there? I get it. People get emotional and shit. But do people not think before they press send? Here's what I'm going to ask this guy the next time I see him. I'm pro-gun. What should happen to me? Because it's easy to talk about the enemy when we're talking about these nutcases on Twitter and people melting down on TikTok videos. But when it's people that you know and people you at one point considered to be friends, that you find out there's no dancing around that one, quite literally want you dead. That makes it a little bit more personal, and it also shows you how much more spiritual this war is. Oh, people I don't know if I would consider them friends, but I've always been cordial and friendly with, would dance on my grave if I got killed because I vote differently than them. People who, if I pulled off the side of the, if I was driving and I saw them pulled off broken down on the side of the road, I'd help them out because I know them. People who, if they came to me and said, bro, I don't have enough money to eat, and this hasn't happened, I'm just telling you, that people, like, I would just fucking give them something. They want me dead, and they want you dead. And there's people in your lives, and I don't know who they are, but you do, who want you dead because of the way you vote. And some of them may have outright said it, and some of them may have just liked a status that said it, and some of them may not have the balls to come forward with it. But rest assured, every single one of you listening to this, you have at least one person in your life, whether it's a family member, a coworker, a friend, a spouse, who wants you dead because of how you vote. You understand what I'm talking about now when I say the cat is out of the bag. There's no taking this back. You can say all kinds of nasty things about me. The moment you let it out that you want me dead, I don't know how I can ever trust you again. I'm going to watch my back every time I'm around you. I'm certainly not going to go out of my way to be around you. But the second it's like I said, you know, the wife that in the middle of a drunken argument with her husband says, I wish I would have married my boyfriend Michael from college. Whether she means it or not, she said it. Whether it was just something she said in the heat of the moment, emotional, just wanting to hurt you, and she really didn't mean it in her heart, she said it. And there's no going back from that now. Now that it's out in the air that you think I, and I quote, deserve to die at the hands of a crazed gunman, end quote, I cannot trust you anymore. Part of me wants to ask the guy to come on the show. Not in my house, don't worry. Because I want to see, I've got someone who is out front with it. I want to see what causes his brain to tick that way. Why does he want me dead? Interesting. Ponder upon it. I don't know. We got a lot to talk about, though. I'm not going to dwell on that anymore. It just bothers me, irks me a little bit, hurts my feelings a little bit that people I at least respected, and there was at one point mutual respect between the two of us, want me dead. And they want you dead, too. Well, crime all over the country, we've been covering this extensively, has been cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Look at this video from Kentucky from a man who stabbed a 6-year-old to death, broke into a home, murdered a 6-year-old with a knife, and got let out after like 7 years. Check the story out here. They interviewed the dad of the now deceased child.
He stood up with me on top of him, just stood up and threw me 10, 15 feet across the room and went after her.
Dean Tipton says December 7th, 2015 is a night that changed his life. He says his children woke him up. He then found a man attacking his children.
And when I got to the top of the stairs, he attacked me. He come at me with the knife.
The night took a tragic turn with the loss of a life, his 6-year-old son, Logan. Dean says immediately after Logan's death, he lost his will to live.
I laid in bed. I gave up. I gave up on life. I gave up on my family. I gave up on everybody. I just wanted to die.
In the years since, the family has done their best to cope, but mentions they are mentally and emotionally scarred. And they are hurt that Ronald Exantis will no longer be behind bars.
Everybody deserves a fighting chance to have justice for them, and it's not.
I've had my talks with God, because I'm not afraid to tell you all. I told the court, if I ever cross paths with him, I will kill the man. I will kill him where he stands.
And do you want to know the worst part about that? So the guy gets out like 8 years in jail right after all the court and everything. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity, which I think is the most insane law, no pun intended, on the books. That you can be found, oh, my client was too much of a retard to understand that killing a 6-year-old boy was bad. Don't better let him back out onto the streets then. What kind of insane society permits that? No. If you kill a 6-year-old boy and we prove it, I don't care what, first off, you have to be a little insane to do that at all. It does not matter what your mental state was. We hang you. We hang you. Period. You die. Or we firing squad, electric chair, lethal injection. We I don't know, tie you to a stone and throw you in a lake. I don't fucking care. But we dispose of you like the garbage that you are. We don't go, well, yep, I guess it makes sense. He didn't understand what he was doing, so we got to let him back out. You know, the worst part about this is if the dad does go kill the guy, which he would have every right to do, I guarantee you the dad does substantially more time than the murderer in prison, possibly life, to quote unquote set a precedent. We can't set a precedent that, you know, if you stab a 6-year-old boy to death, we're going to throw you away forever. But you kill the guy who stabbed the 6-year-old boy, and we're going to bring the hammer down on you. It's like we had a guy in Omaha that shot a registered sex offender, a guy who diddled little kids and stuff. Even the daughter of the sex offender was like, good riddance. And they gave the guy like twice as much time to send a message. Why? That we care more about pedophiles than we do kids? What are we talking about? Like, there was another hotel in downtown Omaha. Guy was called in a Voorhees talking about how he's got this homeless guy that's walked into his hotel lobby dozens of times, drops his pants broad daylight in front of women and children, starts masturbating. And the police will take him away and they'll decline to press any charges. He's back out on the street a week later to do it again. If you or I went into a hotel and started masturbating in front of women and kids, we'd be on the sex offender list, we'd be on the news, and we'd be in jail for a significant amount of time. The ironic part about this is the people that are pushing these soft on crime laws will scream until they're blue in the face about privilege, white privilege, male privilege, straight privilege, whatever the case may be. They scream about privilege. And they can't even see the amount of privilege they have allowed to the insane and violent. You and I, law-abiding, tax-paying, hardworking Americans, we don't get the same privilege that the insane do. That is, for lack of a better word, insane. Do you want to know what's more insane about this situation down in Kentucky? And this will really get your blood boiling. This guy, when he gets out of jail, since he was only found guilty of second-degree assault, here's where it gets real good, and not guilty of murder, but due to reason of insanity, the state of Kentucky does not consider him to be a violent offender. So he was sane enough to know that he was assaulting people, but not sane enough to know it was assaulting people and that was wrong, but not sane enough to know that murdering somebody was wrong. No, the whole thing is insane. Everything about this is insane. The judge that let him out is insane. The parole board that let him out is insane. The fact that we didn't see what the guy did to a child, say, okay, here's your day in court. Oh, you're guilty. Bullet in the back of the head is insane. All of it's insane. This is what controlled demolition looks like. They bring in, they release the violent, the mentally ill, and the worst of the worst onto the streets, give them little slaps on the wrist when they commit the most horrific acts possible, and they allow them to assault you with little to no consequences. They allow them to kill and rape you with little to no consequences. But if you fight back or you seek out the justice that the justice system refused to dole out themselves, they punish you. That's what a controlled demolition looks like. That's what it looks like when you've got people that are controlling this country, Marxist lunatics that want to burn this country down so that they can rule over the ashes. That's what it looks like right there. If the people, I'm telling you, this is a very dangerous game the powers that be are playing right here. If the people we have entrusted with enforcing our laws do not enforce our laws, we are going to. If you're going to say, hey, you go murder some guy's kid, we're going to give you 8 years in jail and we're not even going to label you a violent offender when you get out, don't be surprised when that guy blows that other dude's brains out. Here's what you do. Here's how you do this. You have to start holding judges and prosecutors civilly and legally accountable. First and foremost, insanity plea is gone. It's gone. He didn't understand what he did was wrong. Oh, well. I don't know. Maybe if somebody can't understand that something as simple as murder is wrong, that's somebody we should never, ever, ever have out on the streets. I don't care what you do with them. I know there's all these human rights violations in asylums. Am I wrong for saying I don't care? Am I wrong for saying that that's horrible? Yes, you should treat those people with respect. But if I'm left with two options, which is where those people are out amongst the rest of the 99% of the population that isn't criminally and violently insane, and just allowed to wreak havoc with evidently no consequences, or they go into an asylum where maybe they commit some human rights violations, maybe they don't, I'm taking the asylum 11 times out of 10. Make asylums great again. Isn't that all the more reason to keep those people off the streets? So you have to start, so insanity plea's got to be gone. But you have to start holding judges and prosecutors civilly and criminally liable. You have to define what constitutes as a career criminal, and that'll be up to the legislature, right? Congress, Senate, you can figure that out. Maybe it's X amount of crimes or what specific crime, because we don't want a guy that gets busted for smoking weed 8 times to be a career criminal. But, maybe you commit X amount of violent crimes or robberies or whatever. You bring back the 3 strikes rule. How about that? And then we say, okay, once someone's got 3 strikes, if you don't prosecute that person to the full extent of the law and throw the book at them and lock them away, if you allow them the ability to cop out and get a lesser charge, and you're soft on them because you don't want to hurt their feelings and you care about rehabilitation. He's only raped 7 kids. He can be rehabilitated. These same people, by the way, will tell you Hulk Hogan was irredeemable for using the N-word 1 time. Side note. But if you pull that bullshit, if that guy goes out, once he's got the stigma of a career criminal, if you pull that shit, once that guy gets out of jail, whatever he does afterwards is on you. You are the insurance policy. If that guy goes out and steals a car, you're an accessory to Grand Theft Auto. If that guy goes out and kills somebody, you're an accessory to murder. If you're the judge, if you're the prosecutor, whatever. We'll figure out who let this guy go, who decided not to prosecute him, and you will be held accountable. That can mean restitution. That can mean jail time, parole, whole slew of things. Whatever he does after that 3rd strike, if you choose not to go after him in court, you're going down with him. And the victims can sue you. They're not going to sue him because he doesn't have any money. But they will sue you. And they will ensure that your grandchildren are on welfare, and you fucking deserve it. I mean, it's just all over. We had in Omaha the shooting at Quick Trip. You had a cop goes over to a guy who's the Quick Trip employees call the cops on him because he's harassing customers and employees at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Cop walks up to him, says, "Hey, what are you doing?" The guy pulls a gun on him, shoots the cop. Fortunately, thank God, grazed his head. I think the cop shot him back, or somebody did, because he had a gunshot wound to his hand. This guy goes and flees to McDonald's. SWAT team has to rush him out. Here's what I'm concerned about. You just had this Bud Crawford thing that we covered on the show last week. I want to know, did this cop not pull his gun quicker because he was worried about being on the news in the Bud Crawford thing? Did this cop not pull his gun quicker because every loudmouth community activist who thinks that police encounters are like you see in the movies, and the fucking mayor, John Ewing himself, were out there, who's an ex-cop and has no excuse, were out there throwing the officers under the bus. John Ewing referred to the Crawford incident as, and I quote, the worst day in his tenure as a public servant, end quote. Mind you, this guy was a public servant during the Westroads Mall shooting, during my high school shooting at Millard South back in 2011. He was a public servant during the Carrie Orozco murder. But Bud Crawford getting a gun pulled on him because he doesn't understand you either put it on your person or in the glove box, not on the floorboard. That's the worst moment. Do you think maybe this passed it up? He must be having a rough week. The 2 worst moments in his tenure as a public servant in the same week. That's got to be rough. Here's the thing. I'm not a huge fan of Todd Schmaderer, the police chief. I didn't like how he endorsed Stothert. I think he's a squishy, spineless Republican. But he is a hell of a lot better than the alternative. The fact Ewing kept him was a godsend. If Ewing replaces him, and if our county attorney, Don Klein, who is a Republican, loses his race next November, we are royally fucked as a city. We will turn into Little Chicago. They're already starting to call us that all over the country. Little Chicago. I was just in Chicago. I don't want to be Little Chicago. These people will carry out the controlled demolition that you're seeing in Portland, in Denver, in New York, in Chicago, in San Francisco, all over the country. Now, I don't like our mayor, but we've got a balance of power right now. We've got a police chief and a county attorney that are somewhat sane. If we lose these guys, if we lose our sheriff, Aaron Hansen, who's also up for re-election next November, you should vote for, this city is going to burn figuratively to the ground. I was willing to give Ewing some slack. I said, hey, chill out. He might just be a moderate. I have not seen anything positive, anything redeeming from this guy in his first couple months as mayor. The fact he decided he was going to grift off the Bud Crawford thing, and what was an unfortunate incident where nobody got hurt and everybody probably could have handled the situation better, he decided he was going to try to blow that up into a race thing and try to get on national news. Fortunately, it didn't work. He saw someone he could grift off of. Fortunately, it didn't work. I got a bad feeling about this mayor, dude. I do not like this guy. I'm really concerned about where this city goes next if we lose our sheriff and we lose our county attorney. It's going to be lawless. It's going to be the situation where you have homeless people just acting flat out unhinged in the street, where you have people committing crimes and just nothing happens to them. For whatever reason, they're right back out onto the street. I mean, that's a real problem. You had this other guy in Omaha that, when we talk about controlled demolition, this guy Kyrie Holbert that shot somebody in the old market a couple nights ago. Turns out Biden commuted his sentence. Guy was sitting in prison. Drug dealing and felon in possession of a firearm. He was sentenced for 20 years. Biden commuted it right before he left office after 7 years. So there's a guy, Joe Biden, just let another shooter out onto the street in Omaha. These are the people that are tanking this country, and they're doing it on purpose. Like I said, you flood the zone with violent savages, with monsters who have no regard for humanity, law and order, or anything. And then you make it illegal for people to defend themselves against them. That is how you execute a controlled demolition of society. And you don't do it nationwide, you do it city by city. You start in the big cities like New York and LA and Chicago and San Francisco, and then you work your way into the medium-sized cities like Omaha, the cities like Denver, like Albuquerque, Charlotte, where it's already happening, by the way. And then you go to the small towns, and while I'm not from a small town, I have done plenty of gigs in small town America, and I've got plenty of friends in small town America. Let me tell you, that's going to get shooty if you try it down there. Okay, next story here. We've got a new tinfoil hat conspiracy from liberals. So we had South Carolina Judge Diane Goodstein, who had recently had a high-profile case in September of 2025 when she issued an order blocking the South Carolina Election Commission from providing the Department of Justice with access to the state's full voter database, which included personal information of over 3.3 million citizens. This was in response to President Trump's executive order prohibiting non-citizens from registering to vote and resulting DOJ data request. So Judge Goodstein, shortly after this ruling came out, her house burnt down. She wasn't home. Her husband and kids, and I think some friends were. Fortunately, it sounds like they're going to be okay. They did suffer some injuries. They had to flee the house. But immediately, people jumped on this. People jumped on this and said that this was MAGA. This was right-wing violence. Let me tell you, when they say it's right-wing violence, it almost never is. Very rarely is it ever right-wing violence. And then when it inevitably comes out that it wasn't right-wing violence, they don't say a fucking word about it. They don't say anything. So they'll come out. So it says, this is the tweet from Stephen Miller that they linked to this conspiracy. This came out he tweeted this several hours before the house blew up. or the house caught on fire. And I'll tell you about the house catching on fire in a minute here. But Stephen Miller said, the issue is now very simple and clear. There is a large and growing movement of left-wing terrorism in this country. True. It is well organized and funded. True. And it is shielded by far-left Democrat judges, prosecutors, and attorney generals. Also true. The only remedy is to use legitimate state power to dismantle terrorism and terror networks. So they tried to link that tweet to from Stephen Miller as if it somehow had, Trump's deputy chief of staff, as if it somehow was an indication or him foreshadowing what was about to happen to Judge Goodstein. I'll read that again. The last sentence. The only remedy is to use legitimate state power, which is what I've been telling you, to dismantle these networks. Nowhere does he call for terrorism. Nowhere does he imply this. Guys, these are people that spend too much time watching movies and playing video games. When the evil villain is going to do something, he doesn't foreshadow it with this nasty quote or anything no. He just does it. They don't leave a paper trail like that. This is not television. Well, as it turns out, they investigated it, and they announced that at this point in the investigation, there's no incident that it was intentionally set, that there was any foul play involved. Now, the witnesses of the fire said there was an explosion followed by a fire. And I told everybody that was sharing this baseless conspiracy theory every time I saw this posted by somebody I knew. So when it comes out that this was a gas leak, are you going to issue a retraction? And they all danced around the question. Because, liberals can never answer yes or no questions. You ever notice that? Never noticed that? Now it's horrible. I hate to use the word benign, but when we're talking about somebody's house burning down, but this is benign compared to intentional arson. They've investigated it. She was politically connected. Of course, that's going to be set to a priority there in these trying times. And it doesn't look like it. Now, will any of these people come out and say, hey, we fucked up, we got this one wrong? Of course not. Of course they won't. They'll move on to their next baseless tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. Because the narrative will always be more important than the truth. Now, here's the difference between me and them. If it turned out that this was somebody on my side of the aisle politically, absolutely, I would condemn that person and ask that they be thrown in jail for the rest of their lives. In a heartbeat, there's no question. Political violence is never justified. You see how easy that was? There was a guy who planned to shoot up the Pride Parade a couple weeks ago. They arrested him. Good. That guy's a fucking piece of shit. He's a scumbag. He should go to jail forever or an asylum where he can't hurt anybody. If you plan to murder a bunch of people, I don't care if they're gay people or Christians or Republicans or Democrats, doesn't matter. You should be locked away from society forever where you cannot hurt people again. That's very, very simple. But as much as the left likes to cry about empathy, I'm not seeing much of it coming from them. Next up, we've got ICE was ambushed in Chicago, as I'm going to call it from now on. When we talk about Chicago, just going to shit, dude. Chicago, so you've got ICE agents going to do a detention in Chicago, and they get their vehicle rammed and then surrounded by several other cars in the middle of the street downtown. Probably got lost on their GPS. So the agents get out of the car because they're freaking out, and one of the protesters allegedly approaches them with a firearm, and this is allegedly her, goes by the name of La Maggie. I've had worse. Kind of hot. Couple beers I would, if I were single, She allegedly has a firearm, and they cap her. And she went to the hospital. She lived, whatever. I mean, if this is really what happened, if you had ICE agents driving down the street in an unmarked vehicle, somebody had to know that vehicle was marked. So you might have a narc, you might have a trail, who knows? You get your vehicle rammed and then surrounded by several other cars. You have people coming out armed. That's not just protests anymore. That's not just random people acting violent. That's flat out guerrilla warfare. That's urban combat. That's an organized militia group at that point. That was planned out, that was timed, and it was executed somewhat proficiently. Now, fortunately, leftists, they can plan and they can get better about their organizational skills, but they will never not be able to be either total frail pussies or the most morbidly obese, disgusting creatures you've ever seen. So while they may be able to execute these plans a little bit better than they once did, and they may be able to organize a little bit better than they could about a decade ago, they're still fucking worthless human beings, physically. And they can't hold their own in a fist fight or a gunfight. So the ICE agents made it out unscathed. But, I mean, this is an ongoing problem. Chicago's going to shit, man. You had another guy, or excuse me, you've had multiple leaks from police officers in Chicago who are saying they've heard straight from the mayor's hotline, hey, if you get a call from ICE agents that they're under attack, don't go help them. Leave them out there. That's not our problem. We're not going to help them. So they're going to abandon their fellow brothers in arms, fellow officers, just happen to be from a different department, because the mayor told them to. Don't respond to that. Let them sit out there and get the shit beat out of them. Let them get killed. God knows what, right? And by the way, a lot of ICE agents are Hispanic. Fun fact, in case you didn't know. But we also had, I mean, we talk about political violence, you had the left. So every year before the Supreme Court gets started, they have a mass at the Cathedral of St. Matthew the Apostle in Washington, D.C. You've got a guy who shows up to this with 200 explosives trying to do an alleged suicide bombing on the Supreme Court. Now, they found a manifesto. He was crying about Palestine and ICE and the Supreme Court. Now, again, when we see these bullshit studies about political violence, they'll say, well, we couldn't determine his motive. You know, he just told us what his motive was, and he had a blatant political slant, but we couldn't tell you, so we're not going to call that left-wing violence. By the way, when the Aryan Brotherhood gang members kill each other over a drug deal gone wrong, that was right-wing political violence, in case you didn't know. It's all bullshit. When you see those studies about right-wing, left-wing political violence, know that it was done by someone on the left, and they didn't count things like the Trump assassination attempt. They didn't count the Nashville school shooter. It's pure bullshit. It turns out when you bend the numbers the way you want them to bend, you can get any results you want. Who would have thought? I mean, but this is it's just getting increasingly worse. It's just everything seems to be, it's like Art Bell had The Quickening. Everything seems to be escalating and happening faster. That's why I've got 100 fucking topics to get into this show. We're not even we're about 2/3 of the way through the hour here. And then we're going to take another break. But I mean, this I told you this is going to be a marathon show. I'm sorry. It's going to be a longer show. It is what it is. But it's just everything seems to be escalating. I mean, 5 years ago, we had protests that got a little violent and rocks got thrown in buildings, got set on fire, and it was horrible. It was bad. And now we've got like organized hits on federal agents. Now we've got guys showing up trying to suicide bomb the Supreme Court. What's it going to be like 5 years from now? Think about it, guys. We thought the George Floyd BLM riots were insane 5 years ago. Now we look back at the riots 5 years ago and we're like, well, at least people weren't just shooting their political rivals and then celebrating it. What are we going to think in 2030? If we don't put this insurrection, and that's what it is an insurrection, if we don't put this communist insurrection down, what are we going to be talking about in 5 years? Well, yeah, the Charlie Kirk shooting was bad, but, at least they weren't just walking into churches and just mowing people down every Sunday. How far is this going to go before it gets to a tipping point? I was talking to a guy in the sauna at the gym about this yesterday, and I was like, look, because we were talking about the situation in Nigeria. And, he said, I think a lot of the problem why you get so many radicals is because people don't have anything to lose over there. And I was like, that is an astute point. That is an excellent way to put it. Do you want to come on the show? No, but seriously, when you look at countries like Nigeria, when you look at countries where you've got high political tensions between extremist groups, the common thing is people don't have anything better to do. When you have a stable economy and you have a healthy middle class, that prevents a lot of things, but most importantly, it prevents civil unrest and civil war. When people have things to lose, when a guy has a job and a mortgage and a family that depends on him, he can't pick up a rifle. He's got too many comforts and too many responsibilities. When you take those things away from that guy, which we're seeing happening at increasing rates, you're seeing people that fall in love with the idea of not having kids or whatever, and then they get down the road and they're like, oh shit, maybe I should have done that. When you see people that can't buy a house, so they just check out. When you see people that got a college degree that seemed like it was going to be a good deal when they went into college, and then halfway through they realized it was bad and they weren't going to be able to use their degree, but they decided to finish it anyway, and then they've got a 4-year degree and $100,000 in debt with it for just something they can't use anywhere, and they're waiting tables for a living. Those people check out, and we're seeing that increase in this country. We're seeing more and more people with less and less to lose, and that's where you get pushed closer to civil war, and that's on the right and the left. It's more so on the left right now because that's who's doing all the violence. But eventually that's going to catch up to the right, and I pray to God that this AI bubble pops. I hate to be that guy, but I really do, because I've got a feeling you're going to start seeing people on both sides of the spectrum losing jobs left and right if this AI thing comes out, but that's a story for another time. We'll talk about that elsewhere. Next up, let's go to Portland. Or let's not go to Portland, but let's talk about Portland. Portland is a war zone. Here's a video. They're going to tell you it's peaceful and nobody's doing anything, but here's a video a couple months ago of ICE agents clashing with protesters in Portland. That looks peaceful to me, right? It doesn't look like a war zone at all. Well, Trump wants to send in the military. There's an ongoing court battle about whether or not he has the right to do that. I don't know. I'm not a constitutional lawyer. Don't ask me. Here's the clips the left is spreading around. Now, remember, you know what flooding the zone is? Flooding the zone is where you push the exact same bullshit over and over and over again to force a narrative. So you see this often with shootings when there's legitimate questions about like the Trump shooting in Butler, when that guy first nutcase tried to assassinate him. You will see people people have legitimate questions like, hey, why the hell was Secret Service not on the rooftop? You'll see bad actors try to flood the zone, where maybe some whack job on 4chan came up with some crazy conspiracy theory that, aliens did it with lasers from outer space. That guy will take that and they will circulate that onto semi-mainstream platforms and flood the zone so you don't know what to believe, so you just dismiss everything as bullshit. The left is doing that right now with videos like this, or with videos like this one here. People dressed in inflatable balloon costumes as animals dancing. I can't play any more of that or I'm going to get a copyright strike on YouTube. I don't want that. That's what they're playing. And that's how they're flooding the zone. Oh, violent Portland. I love how that's the best they can do. Hey, we're not violent. We're just insane and should be put in mental asylums. That's all. We dress up as animals and fuck each other. That's it. We're not violent. We're just degenerate trash. Videos like that one or this one. There's your Woodstock hippies. Average age, 87 and a half years old. That fucking generation. Ukrainian flag, love it. This land was made for you and me with a Ukrainian flag. You can't make this shit up. Another Ukraine. She's in a You've got one in a walker and a rascal scooter. This is the resistance, ladies and gentlemen. The resistance has 19 different pills it has to take every day to keep it alive, but they're gonna smoke us in a civil war. You know what? I changed my mind. I've gone back and forth on this. Initially, I said I don't want troops on the streets of these cities, and I said, fuck it, I do. I've changed my mind. I do not want troops on the streets of Portland. I do not want Trump to send the military into Portland. I want him to carpet bomb it instead. Just drop a nuke on it and be done with it. How about that? So we don't ever have to see this crap again. Obviously, I'm kidding. Just another example of how lost the boomers are. How lost that Woodstock generation is. You know what's funny about this? About all this argument about the military and whatnot going into these cities? One other president has sent the military in when the states tried to mount an insurrection. One other president's done that throughout history. And you had a lot of people that were very politically extreme in these states that had really ascended to the top of government, or they had been there for a long time, and they were surrounded themselves with even worse extremists. And there was all types of corruption and violence and riots and all this horrible stuff. And the president said, hey, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm sending the military in. Any guesses who that president was? It was this guy, you maybe heard of him. His name was Abraham Lincoln. Liberals don't care about states' rights when you talk about Lincoln, though. You know, the states' rights to chop your kids' balls off and provide health care on the taxpayer dime for illegal immigrants, that will defend. Not slavery, but that will defend. Even though that's slave labor in a lot of cases. Anyway. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing here? This is ridiculous. So Trump's labeled Antifa a terror group. And the usual gaslighting from the left is going on. I saw a tweet. It was perfect. It says, it's amazing how much leftist discourse is just them pretending not to understand things, thus making discourse impossible. It really is. There's no sense in talking to these people. I tell you this over and over again. There is no sense in trying to debate these people anymore. Ignore them. Ignore them. Try to win the people over in the middle. Do not talk to these people anymore. There's no point. So they'll just go, Antifa's not a terror group. It's just an idea. It's anti-fascist. It's just an idea with the headquarters and a ranking structure and leaders and the same people that show up all over the country despite having no job, but they somehow get funded to show up anywhere between North Carolina and Oregon. Who knows? How do they pull that off? My favorite one, your great-grandpa was Antifa in Germany. You motherfuckers would think my great-grandfather, if you ever had the chance to meet him, and I wish you would have thought he was the most fascist piece of shit you've ever met. You would have hated him, and he would have hated you more than you hate him. And he was on the beaches of Iwo Jima. He would have hated you guys. The people you're calling anti-fascist that fought in World War II would have voted for Trump 90 to 10%. Without hesitation. So here's the thing, though. When they tell you Antifa is an idea and not a group, that's a lie. Antifa did not originate from American soldiers in World War II fighting fascists in Germany and Italy. Antifa actually has a legitimate origin. Anti-fascistish action, I'm sure I butchered the first word, was founded in 1932 by the German Communist Party under Stalin's direction. So Stalin sent money and resources and rebel rousers into Germany and said, hey, go start this group. Its mission was not just to fight fascists. They also targeted centrists and Democrats who maybe didn't toe the line so much as they want. It sound familiar? Branding anyone who opposed communist revolution as a fascist. Violence and intimidation were central to the methods. Anyone who opposed communist revolution is a fascist. Remember what I said earlier on in the show? They don't kill you for being a fascist. They call you a fascist to justify killing you. They targeted centrists. They targeted moderate liberals. Why? They know those people. They're not stupid. They're not that stupid. They know those people are not fascists, centrists, and liberals and whatnot. They know they're not. They do it because they want conformity. They want everyone under the boot of communism. If you are not on board with their idiotic ideology, you have to go. You're going to be a problem at some point down the line. Now, here's where this always collapses, these movements like this. No one's ever, it's no true Scotsman, no one's ever communist enough. Once they've gotten rid of all the conservatives and moderates and centrists and liberals, and all that's left is communists, which will never happen because these people are frail or morbidly obese or suffer from 19 different mental illnesses, so they'd never actually be able to do this to us. But once those people are all gone, the worm has to continue to eat, and it will turn the snake, and it will turn around and engulf itself in its own mouth. And what I mean by that is they'll start to point fingers at one another. Oh, you're not a real communist. Oh, you're not communist enough. What are you, a fascist? You're basically a far right-winger. And they'll go after each other. There's a song called I Was a Teenage Anarchist by the band Against Me. And it talks all about how he was basically a commie growing up and all this stuff. And then he says, at the end, he says, they set their rifle sights on me. Because he said the revolution was a lie. They set their rifle sights on me. Because he realized at the end of the song that, oh my God, this was all bullshit. And these people are so miserable and so unhappy that they don't feel right unless they're raging against someone or something. And when they've totally gotten rid of all the people that they've raged against, they have to find a new boogeyman, and it just becomes the people who aren't far enough to the left. That's how this ends for you guys. In theory. In practice, when communism actually does manage to take over, like in Maoist China, what happens is the government that takes over goes, look at these horrible young people going out and causing chaos in the streets. You need to hand all the military power over to us. We promise we'll give it back, but we need to squash this rebellion. And then they go out and they kill all of you. And guess what? They don't hand that power back. Let's go to the next one. Bobby Althoff, the podcaster, who is famous for cheating on her husband, allegedly, with Drake, maybe, had this to say about Donald Trump.
All right, President Trump, if you're watching this, please keep watching. I am asking you to please...
He's tuned out by now.
...sit down and have an interview with me. I think that perhaps you surround yourself with people who agree with you, and maybe you need to hear another perspective. And maybe I'm not the most educated person to offer that other perspective, but I do feel like, as someone who grew up very Republican, very conservative, very Christian, and as someone who has a lot of family members who also are that way still, I think that we can have a good conversation, and perhaps I can help open your mind to things that you are currently closed to. And I know that there are a lot of people who are going to be mad at me for even offering this interview or trying to get this interview. But I think that a huge problem is people not willing to speak to other people with differing beliefs. I grew up so Republican, so conservative until I met my ex-husband. And because he was willing to...
And her ex-husband was a liberal cock that she cheated on. Of course.
talk to me and just like try to understand why my mind was so set the way it was. At 21, I completely did a 180 and realized that I didn't know everything.
Let this be a word of advice, liberal men out there. If you want to marry a woman of the same ideology, she will cheat on you with Drake every time. Every time.
And that I was wrong, and it's okay to be wrong, and it's okay.
They have no respect for you, and they shouldn't have any.
To change your mind, and I think that a lot of people get mad when people held beliefs and think they can't change their mind, but for this world to get better, people need to change their mind and open their mind and
people need to change their mind to her ideas, is what she said. People need to change their mind to her side of the aisle for this world to get better. What a fucking idiot. And open their mind, but only to her beliefs. Don't open them to anything else. If you're on her side, you don't need to open your mind. Keep it shut. We know you guys don't have a problem with that anyway, though, so.
Form new opinions. So, I don't know. I would love an opportunity to try and speak to you.
There you go. So the glorified prostitute wants to interview the president. I love it. I love it. She's like, well, when I was 21, I met this guy, 21 and impressionable, and way too young to be getting married. I met this guy, and he was older than me and already way set in his beliefs, and he basically just like kind of talked me into it and manipulated my easily impressionable young mind and got me into this bullshit ideology. What a fucking idiot. What a I'm sorry, I had to cut that video off. I couldn't listen to her ramble like that. She is one of the dumbest people in media. People call her an industry plant. She has to be. She has to be an industry plant because there's no way somebody that stupid with the personality of my fucking drywall could reach any level of success that she has. There are, and I don't deal in pop culture, there are a ton of people in pop culture that are way better at their jobs than she is that would kill to get the interviews she does that don't get them. She's got to be an industry plant. Now, I don't know that to be true, but she has to be one. I don't think Bobby wants that smoke, though. Bobby doesn't want that because if she does get an interview with Trump, he's just going to sit there the entire time and roast the shit out of her for abandoning her family to fuck rappers. That's been the second hour. I'm going to be right back. We got more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I got a lot to talk about. I'm not going to talk about all of it, but don't go anywhere. All right, and we are back and brought to you by Tactilian, TACTILIAN.com with the promo code BASE. Will save you 15% off your order at the checkout. Tactilian is the go-to spot for the gifts for the patriot in your life. Go there right now. Tactilian.com, TACTILIAN.com with the promo code BASE. You'll save 15% off your order. They have decor for your home and office, accessories for your dog, clothing for you, decals for your vehicle, and you can get it all 15% off with the promo code BASE, along with, get this, a portion of the proceeds going to help build homes for wounded veterans. Tactilian.com, TACTILIAN.com with the promo code BASE. You'll save 15% off your motherfucking order at the checkout. All right. We got a lot more to talk about. Like I told you, this is a marathon show. You're welcome. Don't you love that we're not on StreamYard anymore? I can just ramble as long as I want, and I don't have a hard stop time. I get done when I get done. By the way, tonight, Saturday, Beach House Bar and Grill, 9 p.m. Doors at 8:30, show at 9, tickets $10 cash or at the door or on eTix. We have got the verbal assault comedy roast battles. 10 of the area's best comedians going head-to-head. No holds barred. All the horrible words going to be said. I have told them beforehand, if you've got something that's too far, too bad. I hope you let your opponent know so they can take a low blow that makes you uncomfortable and you try to fight them on the stage. That's tonight, Beach House Bar and Grill in Omaha, Nebraska, just north of 134th Street. Doors at 8:30, show at 9 or 9. All right, let's talk about, this is insane. This is the most insane story of the year. And it's been an insane year, ladies and gentlemen. It's the quickening, and it's been an insane year. So, Mark Sanchez. Yes, that Mark Sanchez, the former quarterback for the New York Jets, played at USC, was like a top 5 pick, big deal, kind of a bust, right? Mark Sanchez, we hear last Saturday, got stabbed. Like, oh my God, it's big city crime at it again. Now football anchors aren't even safe. He's working for Fox, I believe it was. And correct me if I'm wrong. As an analyst, and we're like, oh, he's there just trying to do his job, and these big city lunatics are stabbing him. Well, turns out there's a little bit more nuance to that. So Sanchez was allegedly, this is all alleged, right? Everyone's innocent till proven guilty. We don't know either way. This is just what the police are saying. And they're saying they have evidence of it. Sanchez checks in that night to a hospital for multiple stab wounds. Several hours later, Sanchez gets arrested. And it's like, whoa, hold on, what's going on? So this is the story from the police. You had an elderly gentleman driving a grease truck. And if you don't know what a grease truck is, it's someone who goes to pick up grease from the restaurants. Because, you can't flush grease down the drain. So he goes, picks it up and from a truck and disposes of it. The guy was 69 years old. Let's be real. If you're 69 years old driving around to restaurants at 1 o'clock in the morning picking up grease, you probably had a rough go of things. So Sanchez, during this time period, this is going on in an alley between a restaurant and Sanchez's hotel. Sanchez is interrupted from doing something very productive, which was running wind sprints in the alley by this truck driver. Yes, you heard me correctly. Wind sprints in the alley. I've been drunk, but not that drunk, ladies and gentlemen. Goes up, opens the door of this truck while the guy's sitting in it, says, hey, you're not supposed to be in here. This vehicle's illegally parked. Hotel management says you can't park here. The guy's like, whoa, buddy, calm down. I'm just doing my job. Sanchez allegedly gets in his face. Guy pepper sprays him. Sanchez keeps coming, so the guy pulls out a knife and stabs him multiple times in the abdomen. So he gets probably wasted, let's be honest here, on something. Gets stabbed, then arrested at the hospital. Now probably going to get fired. What a night, Mark Sanchez. What's hilarious was when you found out he got stabbed, everyone's like, oh, prayers for Mark. He's such a good guy. Are you sure about that? You might want to pull a Tyrell Frazier and delete those tweets. Here's the thing, though. Mark Sanchez will now be remembered for two things. Getting stabbed while assaulting an elderly truck driver in the middle of the night in a drunken rampage. And being a all-around terrible quarterback. He's still known for this play.
Keep up with him.
Well, years ago, we talked to Tom Moore, then in Indianapolis, the offensive coordinator. You got a busted play here, and then Sanchez gets hit. The ball is loose, and it's alive. And then going into the...
He's still known for that play. And he'll always be known for that play. But now he'll be able to add a second part to his resume. Assaulted, allegedly, an elderly gentleman in a drunken rampage who was just trying to do his job and stabbed for it. Here's the best part. Sanchez, I mean, let's look at this guy. In 2011, I thought this was him, so I double-checked it. In 2011, Sanchez, who was 24 years old and playing quarterback for the New York Jets, had a girlfriend who was named Eliza Kruger. Now, that name doesn't ring any bells because she wasn't anybody notable at the time. But as it turns out, Eliza Kruger was a 17-year-old high school student. It was confirmed by her. She provided texts and photos to the sports blog Deadspin.com. Thank God that's Deadspin is dead, by the way. Horrible blog. So the two met at a New York City nightclub on New Year's Eve where Kruger told him she was 17. Sanchez supposedly told her he couldn't see her till she was 18. Oh, that was good. He was just willing to groom her until she turned 18. Nice. But Kruger, who had researched the laws, I just imagine she's on the phone, informed him that 17 was the legal age of consent in New York. The legal age of consent was 16 in New Jersey, which was where Sanchez lived. Kruger shared the story with Deadspin and posted about the relationship on Facebook. Reports prompted the Jets to decline comment on Sanchez's personal life. So this is a guy that just everywhere he goes, problems find him, whether they're on the field, off the field, or after the field. Mark Sanchez is a guy you can count on to do something stupid. Okay. Speaking of stupid people, let's look at Katie Porter, the lead Democrat running for governor of California. Check out this interview she had that has gone viral with CBS.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, ma'am?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're thinking.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition.
So for context, California runs an open primary. So the top two vote, everyone throws their name on the ballot, and the top two vote getters will get into the general election. So it could be two Democrats, it could be a Democrat and a Republican, it could be a Democrat and an independent. It all depends on who's running and how much support they have, just so you're aware of what they're talking about here.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. Mm-hmm. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't think
I feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
argumentative. And I said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer it.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered our follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never
reporter.
had to do this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you, and I don't want this all on camera.
Have you had a happy experience in your life?
Either. I would love to continue to ask these questions so that we can show our viewers what every candidate feels about every one of these issues that they care about. And redistricting is a massive issue. We're going to do an entire story just on the responses to that question. And I've asked everybody the same follow-up questions.
Oh, boy. What a lovely woman. So that's your lead candidate for governor of California. I wonder if that's going to kill her career politically. I wonder if that's going to kill at least her campaign for governor there, if that's going to tank it. I don't think she could have come off as more unlikable and cold if she tried. But here's the thing. This isn't a one-off situation for her. She does this over and over again. Look at this. She didn't think she was live in the middle of this. She was getting ready for another interview, a Zoom interview. And look at this interaction she has with one of her staffers here.
You ready for stat number 2?
I am.
All right. $632, which is how much you save in fuel and maintenance costs when you replace your traditional car with an EV, with an electric vehicle. So I lease a Chevy Bolt. It is the best car that I have ever owned. I just plug it into the garage, 3-hole prong plug, and I never have to go to the gas station.
That's awesome. And $632 is real money. And I know here at UCI, we have a national fuel.
$632, by the way, in California is like $16 in Nebraska. So just saying.
Research Center, and they're also doing work on how to make electric vehicles affordable, including for low and moderate income people, working moms, single moms like me, people who really could benefit from an extra $632 in their pocket. And it's also not just the individual savings, but it's also the total savings for our economy. So I'm on the oversight committee, you might know, and that is where we did a study recently this fall in September. And what it showed is if we don't
I don't like that my fridge looks nicer than hers. I'm going to show you the part you need to see in a minute here. I don't like that my fridge is nicer than hers. You know, I don't like the elites ruling over us, but I also don't want just downtrodden degenerates ruling over us either. I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't like that I have a nicer fridge than the future governor of California. That irks me a little bit. What's wrong with you? What have you done with your money that you've embezzled and insider traded throughout your career in Congress? Have you snorted it up your nose? Have you gambled it away? You should have a nicer fridge than me.
Electrify our transportation sector, that we're going to lose more than 500,000 Californians dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems, and the state could lose. Get out of my fucking shot.
That's the part you needed to see. I'll play it one more time. The staffer walks into the background. Of course, she's wearing a mask in a house like a dumbass. Watch that one more time.
Problems, and the state could lose. Get out of my fucking shot.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't meet the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shot before that.
Yeah, she was just trying to help you out, lady. She was trying to help you in this totally not scripted interview come up with a better talking point so they could go back and edit it after the fact. They got a story out of it, though. Get out of my fucking shot. Just so quick to anger like that. Not, hey, could you move? Hey, sorry, I'm trying to record here. Could you get out of the, like, not even like slightly rude, just immediate cussing and screaming. By the way, I thought I recognized her from somewhere. She's the ugly stepsister from Shrek. I knew she looked familiar, Katie Porter. There she is. I knew she'd been in the movies. Katie, you look like a Hollywood star. What is it? How is this woman even electable? How is this woman electable? I mean, at least like when you look at their current governor, Newsom, even without these outbursts, just look at her. Listen to how she talks. At least Newsom's like kind of a suave motherfucker. He's got the slick back hair. He's a good talker, probably a serial killer, but he's smooth. She's mean as all hell. She is dog-faced ugly. I'm talking the most unattractive inside and out woman in American politics since Janet Reno, and she has the personality of my toaster or my fridge that's evidently nicer than hers. How is she electable? Is the question. Here's what she said after Trump got elected. This woman's nuts.
So on election night, I went to pick up my daughter from water polo practice, and she's 12, and she got in the car and she was crying. And I said, did someone punch you? Like, water polo is a rough sport. I was like, did someone hit you? Did the coach yell at you? What happened? And she said, Mom, Trump won. Trump's going to win. And what if I get raped and I need to have an abortion? This is from a 12-year-old, my 12-year-old daughter. And so.
All right, so here's the thing. If your 12-year-old is thinking about what's going to happen if I get raped and need to have an abortion, That's you. That's you talking. That's piss poor parenting. That's you as a parent brainwashing your child. Plain and simple. You have put the fear of God into that kid. You have failed as a parent. You have pushed your own political insecurities and obsession, because that's what it is, onto that child. There is no 12-year-old child that sits there and thinks about that unless they have had an adult in their life push it on them. Plain and simple. You should be ashamed of yourself, ugly stepsister from Shrek. If you're listening on audio, look this woman up. She looks just like the fucking ugly stepsister from Shrek. I mean, they are... It's like holding up... It's a mirror. Identical twins. The ugly stepsister from Shrek. Here's Katie Porter on pedophilia. I'm sure she won't have anything retarded to say about this.
You know, this allegation of groomer and pedophile, it is alleging that a person is criminal somehow and engaged in criminal acts merely because of their identity, their sexual orientation, their gender identity.
There you go. There you heard it from your future governor of California, Katie Porter, the ugly stepsister from Shrek. Pedophilia is an identity. Pointing out the people are pedophiles is assuming they're going to commit a crime just because of their identity. Listen, I look at pedophiles the same way I look at the guy who said he wants to shoot up the Pride Parade, right? Because I go both ways on those issues. On the LGBT, I don't want to see any harm come to the LGBTQ4KHDTV community. Plus community. That guy who threatened to shoot up the Pride March, even though he didn't shoot up the Pride March, should be put away forever so he can never shoot up a Pride March. A pedophile who's never molested a kid should be put away forever so they can never molest a kid. Is that easy enough for you? Not for future governor, the ugly stepsister from Shrek. It's not easy enough for her. The ugly stepsister from Shrek does not understand that pedophilia is bad. She thinks it's an identity. It's a sexual orientation, no different from Cam and Mitch from Modern Family. Glorious. Glorious. That's all I got. Just end with the ugly stepsister from Shrek. Fuck it. Well, oh my goodness. I don't know. We'll talk about Hassan Piker real quick. We'll talk about Hassan Piker and Haley Williams, and then we'll get out of here. How about that? Skipping a bunch of them. So Hassan Piker, the communist Twitch streamer, the Nepo baby who Cenk Uygur from Young Turks is his uncle, and he's never really had to work for anything. Just sits, plays video games, and rambles for hours every day. He's gotten in some hot water because some people have accused him of abusing his dog with a shock collar. Let's see.
Of all of America's much more consequential violence, okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop. Jesus Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a baby. It's just, you're making her stressed. She just literally is so incredibly spoiled from my mom. No, she doesn't want to come over here to see what's up. She just wants to fucking roam the house because she got to roam the house.
Oh, no, she wants to roam the house. The dog doesn't want to sit in the background while you fucking yell into the camera for 6 hours. Who would have thought? Our dog comes in here sometimes when we're recording because he's an Aussie. He's a Velcro dog. He can't get away from Mia. But the second, if he wants to leave, he leaves. He walks away. It's not, I don't use him as a background piece like Hassan. In fact, I think you guys have seen him one time, and that's by design. You fucking freaks don't need to see my family. But, so if you watch the video, we'll play it one more time.
All of America's much more consequential violence, okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just
he looks
fucking
back at the
go.
dog 'cause she's moving,
stop.
Presses a button, and the dog yelps. Now, Hassan has claimed that he didn't It's not a shock collar. It's a vibration collar. And just the time he happened to press the button on the collar, the dog got her nail caught in the bed. And that's why she yelped. Okay. Sure. The poor dog just wants to move around. Believe it or not, animals were not, dogs specifically, were not built to lay on a bed for 6 hours while the owner's home and screams into his microphone. Who would have thought? Here's a time lapse in super speed of Hassan with his dog in the background for how long he makes it sit there.
What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, afternoon, pre-noon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Hassan Piker, and this is the Hassan Abi broadcast.
There we go. We're at half an hour. Dog hasn't moved. 45 minutes, the dog hasn't moved. An hour, the dog has not moved. Hour and 30 minutes, the dog has not moved. It cannot get off that bed. 2 hours, the dog has not gotten off the bed.
It is emblematic of all of America's much more consequential violence. Okay?
This is the clip we
it's
just
the
showed
same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop.
Even if he didn't use a shock collar, why is he screaming and cussing at the dog for moving? Yeah, the dog didn't want to lay in the same spot for 2.5 hours. Who would have thought? So now we're at 2 hours and 45 minutes. 3 hours. 3.5 hours. 4 hours of the dog being just trapped in this room while its owner yells at the camera. 4 hours and 20 minutes. 4 hours and 21 minutes and 17 seconds. The dog was trapped there. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Now, he's claimed that, hey, it's just the vibration collar. It's not. But we found some old footage of him, quote unquote, training one of his other dogs. And again, he thought this was okay to post. So what's he doing to it in private?
Stay. If you run right now, I'll fucking kill you. Like, I'll actually kill you, okay? In front of everyone. Motherfucker, come here.
Pulling it by the tail. Look, that's like pulling a man by the dick. I've had, my current dog doesn't have a tail. You don't pull your dog by the tail. That's unnecessarily cruel. It hurts it. There's no reason to pull a dog by a tail ever. If a dog's in a fight and going at and they're at it, you grab them by the hips and pull. Right? The tail is the absolute last resort for when they're in the middle of something and you can't get them out. You don't pull them at a tail because you're annoyed with them and cussing at them and screaming about how you're going to kill them. Now, that's a pit bull, and I don't like pit bulls. But there's no excuse there. That was out of anger and frustration. Here's the thing, guys. This is a guy who's openly called for violence against conservatives. We played him after the Charlie Kirk shooting. He's nuts. He's nuts. This is what he does to his pets that he supposedly loves on camera. In front of everybody. He shows it to you. He's evidently somewhat proud of it, or it wouldn't be published. So I got two questions. Number one, what does he do to these animals off camera? And number two, if he's doing this to the animals he supposedly loves, what do you think people like him are going to do to you and I, who they openly hate, the moment they get power? And that's why we have to use the legitimate arm of the state, like Stephen Miller said, to ensure that these psychopaths never regain power. Trump signed a law that Congress passes a bipartisan legislation back in 2019. It made animal cruelty a federal crime. I think the FBI should go visit the outspoken communist activist Hassan Piker and just terrorize him for a couple of weeks. Use the arm of the state to make this guy waste a whole bunch of time and spend a whole bunch of money and get his whole life flipped upside down to let him know where he stands on the totem pole nowadays. Let's give these people the far-right government they've been crying about for the last couple of years. Let's show them what it looks like. that's been our show. Let's also go to the roast battles tonight. October 11th, 9 p.m. We will be raising money for a family that my brother coaches the son of that lost everything in a fire. That's where my portion of the ticket sales will be going to. It'll be at Beach House Bar and Grill just north of 103rd and 4th Street in Omaha, Nebraska. $10 at the door or on eTix for your tickets. 21 plus. If you're 18 to 20, we will let you in, but we will mark your hands, and we will tell you have to pay a $2 surcharge to give the bar extra money from lost alcohol revenue. That's just how it works, okay? Or you can drink mocktails all night. It's your choice. Well, we're not doing this. I just want a soda crap. Absolutely not. Show up to come to the show. Have fun. It's the roast battles, verbal assault. We only do this a couple times a year. Everybody has a good time. It's always a party. We got some real good matchups. We got people like I actually tailored it this time. People that know each other. Like we got Reese Thurber and Zach Rars. They run a podcast together. They're good friends. Those two are going to get nasty and personal because they know a lot of shit about each other. Ben Webb and Bill Queen, two of the best roast comics in town. Bree Calhorn and Taryn Perez. Taryn's a good friend of mine, and Bree's won our roast tournament a couple years ago, so she is just fucking nasty as well. And we got more battles. Some first timers coming up, popping that roast battle cherry with Justin Rocker and Justin Bacher, excuse me, and Jaden Skalberg, plus a couple more, some guest appearances. I'll be doing a set. It'll be a good time. We'll see you guys tonight, and then we'll see you if you're not coming to the show on Wednesday. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse, and stay based.